mynews.studio.
Picture wrapping up your Thursday afternoon, knowing your weekend has already started. Could that actually become the new standard for work?
Today's date is 2025-07-19. Around the globe, we're seeing both companies and governments reconsidering the traditional work week. The 5-day routine, which felt unchangeable for decades, is being challenged by new models, like the 4-day week, and by policies like the right to disconnect, which protects time away from work emails and messages after hours. Why is this happening now, and how far could it go?
Let's look at the UK as a starting point. In 2024, over 3,000 employees joined the country's largest 4-day workweek trial. The outcome was striking. 92% of participating companies decided to stick with the shorter week after the trial. What persuaded them? The data showed higher productivity, increased revenues, and employees feeling less stressed and more engaged. It turned out not to be just about fewer hours, but about making those hours count. And by 2025, more than 200 UK companies had permanently adopted the 4-day week.
And it's not just the UK. Similar trials happened in the US and Canada. There, companies saw an 8% bump in revenue, plus declines in stress and burnout. People reported spending more time with their families and taking better care of themselves. But from a business perspective, retention and recruitment rates improved too. So if the results are so positive, why isn't every company making the switch?
That's a key point. Adoption has increased rapidly, up 117% worldwide since 2022, especially in sectors like tech and professional services. But it's not universal. Some industries, healthcare, manufacturing, require constant coverage. To adapt, they've tried staggered shifts, compressed schedules, or brought in automation to maintain service without overworking staff. So, is this approach suitable for everyone? Not exactly. The evidence is strong, though, and that's leading more organizations to experiment.
And it's not just about shorter weeks. In August 2024, Australia passed a right to disconnect law. What does that actually mean? Basically, employees can refuse work-related calls or emails outside of their agreed hours, except in emergencies or when the law requires a response. At first, this applied to organizations with more than 15 employees, but by August 2025, it'll include smaller businesses too. How are companies handling this? They're rewriting contracts, training managers, and making clear when after-hours contact is and isn't okay.
It's a significant shift. Before these laws, digital technology often blurred the line between work and free time. Now, places like France, Portugal, and Canada have similar protections. 6 months into Australia's rollout, companies are still figuring out what's reasonable to expect from employees after hours. The aim is to reduce unpaid overtime, lower anxiety, and curb burnout. Still, there's an ongoing debate. When is it actually unreasonable to disconnect? And where do you draw the line between flexibility and responsibility?
There's also movement on family policies. For example, Sweden expanded paid parental leave to include grandparents. The intention is to ease the pressure on working parents and acknowledge how caregiving roles are changing. What's the effect? More support for families across generations and potentially more equality at work.
All these changes are having an impact beyond the countries where they started. Policymakers in other places are watching closely. In the US, debates are ongoing about whether to follow these examples. But there are hurdles, deeply rooted cultural expectations, varying demands across industries, and the challenge of actually implementing reforms. Is there enough evidence to persuade skeptics? Early results suggest yes. Most companies that try the 4-day week stick with it, and employees say they'd only return to 5 days for a significant pay increase.
So, will we see these policies go global? There's momentum, but also pushback, especially in places with a strong culture of long hours. Japan, for instance, has been slower to adopt these changes, and everywhere, the logistics like scheduling, pay, and making sure enough people are available are complicated.
Still, the trend is hard to ignore. The 4-day week and right to disconnect are becoming new benchmarks for what work can be. They're not just about getting more time off, they're about clearer boundaries and healthier workplaces. Could these reforms help mental health and raise labor standards worldwide? The evidence is building, even as the debate continues.
So we've looked at the rapid growth of the 4-day week, new laws protecting downtime, and evolving family policies. The way we work is being renegotiated right now. The big question, will your next job come with a shorter week and real time away from work?
Thanks for listening as we explored these global changes to work. The 4-day week and the right to disconnect could just be the starting point.
Thank you for tuning in. This episode was brought to you by mynews.studio. You can try it now, free.